Overnight, a federal judge in Los Angeles confirmed what many in the public already knew that ICE was arresting people based on appearance, based on accent, and without probable cause. A federal judge has ordered ICE to stop arresting people in Los Angeles without sufficient probable cause based solely on factors including accent and occupation, ordering the agencies to stop immediately and mandating that immediate reforms after finding that detainees were denied access to legal counsel and were being held in a basement holding area known as B18. Human rights abuses abound. What we're seeing in Los Angeles has just been blocked by a federal judge. This is significant, but it's not the end. Any court case is going to go up to the Ninth Circuit and then to the United States Supreme Court. Before I continue, this update is not going to be that great. I'm going to be honest with you. The stories that I'm about to share are not easy to hear, but they need to be said anyway, because the news does not stop and the news is the news nonetheless. If you want to support my work, please consider subscribing to my Substack by clicking the button below or sending a one-time donation via Venmo to Aaron-Parnas. First up, a longtime Trump supporter, New Hampshire resident Chris Landry, is currently stranded in Canada after going on a family vacation and being denied re-entry to the United States due to past minor convictions. Landry is 46 years old, came to the United States when he was 3 years old, is a green card holder and a permanent U.S. legal resident. He went on vacation with his family to Canada. He previously had two convictions, one for a minor conviction for drug-related crimes and one for traffic-related crimes. He's now being denied re-entry back into the United States of America and is blaming the Trump-era crackdowns, having buyer's remorse for his support of Donald Trump. He did not vote for Donald Trump because he's a Canadian citizen or was born in Canada, but nonetheless, if he had the opportunity to, he would have voted for Trump here in the United States of America. Jamie Alanis, a long-term farm worker and father, has died from injuries sustained during the dramatic federal immigration raid at a California cannabis farm on Thursday. He fell 30 feet while hiding from agents. The enforcement action involving armored vehicles and tear gas left communities outraged and traumatized, especially given his presence in the community, a decade in the community of labor and service to the community. The presence of immigrant children on site as well has traumatized the community. A disabled United States veteran and citizen of the United States of America, George Rettis, was violently detained during the ICE raid at the Camarillo cannabis farm. Despite not being involved in the protests, leaving his family desperate for answers this morning, days later, on the day today is his daughter's birthday party, of where he is and why he was detained. Donald Trump, following the deadly ICE raid, has given federal agents, quote, total authorization to use force against protesters, calling protesters, quote, slime balls and directing arrests by any means necessary. According to the New York Times, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem failed to renew critical FEMA call center contracts in time, leaving disaster survivors unable to reach help, prompting outrage as the agency struggled to respond amid ongoing floods in Texas. On July 6th, the day after FEMA call center contracts lapsed, the agency only answered only 846 of the 2,363 calls. Just 35% of the calls were answered. On July 7th, it got worse. Only 2,613 calls out of the 16,419 calls were answered, 15.9%, leaving thousands of flood survivors without assistance. The contracts for hundreds of call center workers expired on July 5th and were not renewed by Kristi Noem until July 10th, a 5-day gap during one of the most devastating disasters in Texas history. Senator Ted Cruz slashed $200 million in weather and climate forecasting funds, then proceeded to vacation in Greece as deadly floods killed over 100 people in Texas. His critics say his actions weakened early warning systems, worsening the disaster and prioritizing big oil over the people of Texas. Donald Trump this morning woke up and announced a 30% tariff on goods from the European Union and Mexico, warning that any retaliation will be met with an equivalent increase in tariffs. These tariffs will take effect on August 1st. As the Trump administration is firing around 1,300 State Department employees in a sweeping reorganization, an internal image was shared with PBS News showing a note taped to a mirror urging remaining staff to, quote, resist fascism and remember their oath. The U.S. Department of Justice has requested Minnesota's voter and election data to review compliance with the Help America Vote Act. The United Nations is warning that Gaza's fuel level shortages have reached critical levels, threatening a total collapse of humanitarian services for 2.1 million people. As U.S. regulators restrict COVID mRNA vaccines and the Trump administration cuts funding, scientists are warning that critical mRNA based cancer research targeting deadly diseases like brain and pancreatic cancer is at risk, with at least 16 grants already frozen and researchers pressured to strip mRNA from their proposals. A couple good news stories. At a Virginia adoption event, a shelter dog named Sienna alerted to a man's impending seizure despite no training by sitting at his feet and pawing at his leg, stunning rescuers and proving, as the shelter put it, the unspoken wisdom some rescue dogs carry. She's now fully sponsored and still is awaiting a forever home. After surviving a rare stroke caused by a hidden heart defect, 18-year-old Katie Rangel made it to prom just 2 weeks later, thanks to her boyfriend's insistence that she go to the hospital. She is now fully recovered and plans to become a nurse, inspired by the care that she received that saved her life. That's all the news right now. I'll have more news this evening, so subscribe to support my work or send a one-time donation via Venmo to Aaron-Parnas. More to come soon.